to our CCR TV viewers. Welcome to yet another episode of Senior Shepherds. We have with us today Reverend Father Salvador Ferrao, a Jesuit priest who has been working in the African missions for the last 50 years. He was ordained as a priest in Tanzania and he has been there ever since. He's here with us here at the CCR TV studio to tell us more about him, his life and his entire journey of a priesthood and in the missions. Welcome, Father Salvador, to the CCR TV studio. Well, Father, could you tell us at the outset something about your childhood, the village in Goa where you come from, and how all of this helped you in your Christian faith?
So, thank you first of all being invited. Media can do good and can do not good. So here I am here trying to use your media to celebrate being celebrated into evangelization, and through whatever I'm able to share with you, evangelize to those who are listening to me. So I am from Harint, Kampal, not very far from Kala Academy. I was born there. That is part of Santinez Church. And there I went to Don Bosco schools and continued my studies. And as you talk about the faith, that is very important. The faith we received from our parents. In what way? Every time before our evening meals, we had to have our rosary. Only then we are given our rice and curry. But that is not enough. Faith continues individually, going to the church, going to the catechesis, and that is how the faith grows.
So, could you tell us how you experience God's call to join a religious congregation to become a priest?
That is something good. I wanted to be a religious, but I never wanted to be called by the founder's name, like Dominicans, Don Boscos, Franciscans. So I went on searching which congregation order could fit me. Went on reflecting and praying. Finally, I found a name, Jesuits. I said that is really fitting to me, to be called after Jesus himself and not after the founder of Ignatius. So Jesuit fit me well. But then I still thought whether I should enter the order and become a Jesuit or not entering into the order and live as a Jesuit. Then I found Jesus himself. When he wanted to become a human person, he entered into humanity. So that was a good reason for me to make a final decision to enter into Society of Jesus.
So when you made this final decision to enter the Society of Jesuits, was there any Jesuit who helped you, or did you come in contact with any Jesuit? Who was your inspiration then?
There was Father Vasco Rego, is an ascetic person. I saw him in his preaching. His preaching was very ascetic. Other one was Carlo Di Mello. He was a canonist. And then I remember him washing his cassock and all in a broken bucket. But interesting to me is when I joined the society, he was my professor in canon law, and he failed me twice in canon law. Why? That is important, because I was holding that there are no temporal vows. That is, you take a vows for 3 years or 6 years and then you renew. No, I said I don't agree. When you say to God yes, is permanent yes. And even Pope says, say yes. Don't say it may be. It does not work. So he failed me. Then when I went again for the second time for the examination, he said, do you still hold that thing? Yes, I hold that. There are no temporary vows, only perpetual vow. And that St. Ignatius did for us. When we joined the Society of Jesus, our first vows are the perpetual ones. But important is how I became a religious or priest That is very significant. You see, our house was not very far from Don Bosco's in Kampal.
Okay.
And Father Scuderi is a Don Bosco director. One evening he came to our house walking, happened to be the feast of Don Bosco. So he told my father, I'm taking your son to see the film of Don Bosco. So he says, you go. And he told my brother, you follow me later because to bring me back. So then in the film, Don Bosco gives communion to his mother. And that was the beginning of my vocation to become a priest.
Okay.
Last time, Don Bosco's invited me for a lunch and a mass,
Yes.
and they asked me to share
Yes.
how I got the vocation. And this is what I told them. By seeing Don Bosco giving communion to his mother was the beginning of my vocation to the priesthood.
Beautiful, Father. And in your formative years as a priest and as a journey to becoming a priest, could you tell us a little more about your formative years, your journey, any challenges that you faced?
The formation is there. Let us get the challenge. Actually, no challenges because whatever happens to you, either God tolerates or allows to happen. So in that sense, I will put it differently. Through your challenges, you will discover me what God says. Through your difficulties, through your pains, you will discover me. That in that sense, there is no challenge. Even Gandhi said, a Christian always happy, does not mind the problems, and always hopeful. So if you put these things together, challenge has no footing. So a Christian always happy. Second, does not bother about your problem. Third is always hopeful. Hope means what? I do what I can. What I cannot, I leave into the hands of God. Let Him finalize.
Yeah.
Coming to your formation,
Yes.
you see, I failed to join the society 4 times. They call it 4 sheets. 4 sheets means you are interviewed by 4 different people. All 4 times I failed because I did not know English. I knew only Portuguese. Portuguese
Nice.
time.
Okay.
Finally, the provincial of Goa Pune province, Stafna by name, Swiss, he said, let us give him a trial so that he knows Portuguese and novice master is Spanish for the coin. Say they will understand each other. And that's what happened.
Where was this, Father?
In Bombay, Vinayalaya.
Okay.
So that we did. Then my companion who was a master's in science and arts, he taught me English, and then I published 3 books. One book is Let Us Respect Each Other. That is Faith and Human Rights. The second is Traveling with Evangelizing Jesus. That is spiritual exercises. The fourth one is God's will is to forgive, not forgiveness. That means initiative of God to forgive you. Whether you like it or not, He forgives you. Coming from the cross, Father, forgive them because they don't know what they do. So in that formation, coming back, because Jesuits want to know whether I referred to anyone besides a Jesuit.
Yes.
Father Sheikh Monteiro, if you remember
yes.
him. Yeah.
I've heard
Of
that
the
name,
Lar of
Lar
Estudantes, Lar
Yes,
de
Father.
Estudantes,
Yes.
great friend of mine. When I went to tell him, Father, I'm inclined to become Jesuit, he said, Father, you go. Because he wanted to do the same thing, and the parents did not allow him.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the books you published were in which language then?
in English.
In English.
And
okay.
those 3 books I put together, I sent to my Jesuit who taught me English
Oh, nice.
from Calcutta.
And throughout your challenges, be challenges or not, who has been your biggest inspiration in life?
Well, inspiration, you see, there are many. For me, one who was very close to me who really supported me in my missionary vocation is Father Pedro Arupe. He's an ex-general.
Yes.
He is considered in Spain as a saint, but Vatican has their own side effects on making him a saint immediately now. So what happened is this. When I wanted to go to Africa, my provincial told me you are not intellectual. So Africa needs intellectuals. Then that is not the end. I went to my spiritual director, and the spiritual director has a real role. Father Serrano by name, Spanish again. He said, you write to Father General, that is Father Arupe, and tell him I, as a spiritual director of yours, told him to write. Immediately the letter came saying, no missionary vocation can be stopped by any superior. And he said, he immediately selected, and I encourage you to go to Africa. So then when the time came to go to Africa, I wanted to learn African theology. That time there was no Jesuit theology. So I joined the diocesan seminary in Tanzania. And the Father Arupi said, you try. So what I did there, and after that I was ordained priest, and soon after being ordained, the superior said, no need to continue seminary work, we need to start a mission immediately. But there was nothing. I am the first pioneer to start missions.
In Africa.
And then now so-called a province. But if you go real challenge that God puts you in a rough and tough time is, yes, there is one. I was kidnapped by the rebels of South Sudan. By that time it is 1986, 80, something like that. So I was the rebels kidnapped me. It happened like this. In the evening times, some 7 gunmen came to my place where I was looking after the refugees of Idi Amin Dada. So they came with the guns and they asked me to come out. So I went out. You were preaching Jesus, your God. And then he said, my gun is my God. So then they took me into the bush. They took everything from our house and asked ladies to carry the whatever they have looted. I told them, you don't take ladies to the bush. If you want to take me, you can take. Then he told me, are you a commander here? And I said, I'm not a commander. I'm requesting. Don't take mothers to the bush. So we are walking now in the bush. Whether rain or no rain. After a week or two, I recognized him. I said, you fellow, that day you're influenced by drugs and you denied your God. You said your gun is God. But God is so gentle and kind, made a priest to walk along with you so that you recognize your fault. Then I said, I may be your prisoner, but I am still your priest. And God made that possible. You kneel down, you confess your sins, I forgive you. So that poor boy knelt down. He kept his gun far away. I absolved him and gave him plenary indulgence, and we separate ourselves. Later on, that is the beauty thing. Later on, the real existence of God, one of my companions, he became completely numb, could not walk anymore. He just put his hands over me. He said, I cannot do any more. So he said, give me some time to rest. So I told the rebels. They told me, no, we can shoot him. We don't take care of kidnapped people. Then I went to a higher commander. I said, Commander, I am asking your request. This companion of mine can't walk anymore. Everything numb, he is exhausted. Give me 45 minutes so he rests on the ground.
Okay.
After 45 minutes, I'll leave you to decide. So then he agreed.
Okay.
So I told him, you completely lie down on the ground flat. And the commander-in-chief, he told me, Father, here is risky. I give you 5 gunmen in case somebody comes to attack you. So others went and gave me 5 gunmen to protect us.
Okay, understand.
Because he was very kind.
Okay.
And this is what I want to say. After 45 minutes, if God exists, he proved his own priest cannot be left dead there. He got up and we walked 900 miles from South Sudan to Kenya. 900 miles. Then we were handed over to a Red Cross, and from the Red Cross to Kenyan military. Here we are to, to
And-
share God's existence.
And you've been in Africa for so many years, Father. How was it, your initial experiences? How it is so different, our culture and the African culture. How did you manage to fit in?
You see, a missionary is born 3 times. First, born to his parents. Second, born in faith. Third, born in a mission land. Born in mission land means you have to read text, pretext, and context. Text means where you are. You carry the Bible. You are trying to preach that evangelize people through these texts. There's the Bible. You have to know pretext. Pretext
Yes.
means people are there before I came. So you have to understand where they are. And context means where they live. If you miss one of these, text, pretext, context, you misfire the explanation of the gospel. So the beautiful thing was my first archbishop by name Marco Mihaio. He said, Father, when in your pastoral services to our people, make this difference. You are born in faith, and we met faith. Africans met faith. What does it mean? Faith in Goa is 400-500 years old, while Africa, 1 century, maybe 2 centuries. That's why he said, make this big difference. You are born in faith, and we met faith.
Okay.
Coming to the approach, that also I spoke to our Cardinal Philip Neri.
Yes.
And to my surprise or to my consolation, he understood. I told Archbishop Patriarch Cardinal Neri, I said, in the Bible we read God and money.
Yes.
I don't use that in Africa. I said God and tradition, because tradition is overpowering the faith. They're all Christians, but tradition has more power than your faith. What does it mean concretely is this. Now we have our boys and girls grown up with us.
Yes.
They receive our education. Now when they want to get married, they like to be married and blessed in the church. But the parents would not allow them. First, you do your traditional marriage under the tree.
Oh.
That means they have the traditional marriage without wedding, what we call
Yes.
sacrament, but 10 years, 15 years, they live together, they have their own children and all. Now they can come to get blessed in the church as a sacrament.
Okay. And can you also tell us, Father, what kept you going all through these years as a priest? Different places, your countries of work. What is it that really?
That is called evangelizing determination. I like to explain that. Evangelizing determination means what? That you are fully, the word they use, consecration. But consecration has real meaning which I would say not all have understood. Consecration is a total claim by God on you. What for? In order to serve Him in humankind. That is consecration.
Okay.
And that is called evangelizing determination, that you are completely dependent on that total claim by God in order you serve Him in humankind. The best example would be Mother Mary. Her entire ownership she gave to that total claim by God on her. What for? To become Mother of God. That is God. And then consecration is not enough. You need that to live. And to live that, you celebrate the Eucharist. Without Eucharist, you cannot continue. That's why Pedro Arupe said, his day made no sense without celebrating the Eucharist. And that is to me, yes. And until all these years of my life, I thank God I never left a day without celebrating the Eucharist. Eucharist is the core center of your evangelizing determination.
Okay. And lastly, Father, there are a lot of youngsters watching this channel also. So what message would you like to give to the young people of today?
And that is nice. I was happy to hear that. But before that, before I come to that, it's very important our youngsters who are listening to us should reflect a bit to their high-tech, whatever education they had, all that, if put that together, and I would question them. Today, your so-called high technology and whatever science you talk about, conquered moon, reached Mars. Did it happen to prevent the war between Russia and Ukraine? What is the profit of your high technology? What is the profit conquering moon? What is the profit reaching Mars and you could not prevent the war between Russia and Ukraine? It's completely, in Latin we say, absurdum.
Triste.
Yeah, that is to say, did not profit. And that is what I say, the principle called live respecting. If you live respecting, you like to be respected and I respect you. If that principle had governing humankind today, there would not be this human disaster. And there also is another understanding. It's good for our youngsters to know. There's a big difference being human being and being human.
Okay,
So
yes.
difference between human being and being human. Another difference is human person and humane person. I was addressing a big assembly and I used that word humane. Somebody got up and said, Father, I read all the books. I never found the word called humane because that is missing. Human person is easy. Humane person is not easy. Same thing. Becoming what we need. Becoming unbecoming, that is how the humankind is running. We are becoming unbecoming what we are. Otherwise, this disaster would not. If we were becoming, the humanity would have been living in harmony. For the youngsters now,
Yes, Father. Tell.
Pope, this is direct to the youngsters. Pope says, when he went to Europe, you youngsters don't be like parking taxi, standing there. Use your creativeness, imagination. When he went to Thailand, he said, you don't be like luxury sofas. So that easy go life.
Yes.
With that, I want to tell our youngsters who are listening about the youngsters in Nairobi.
Yes.
They are all highly educated. Secondary school they finished. College students they have done. No job. And according to the statistics, the youngsters of Kenya are the majority jobless in the entire world. Now, the beauty is the government wanted to give them some type of casual labor, and that your corona business also spoiled this casual labor. So, the government of Kenya tried to bring some type of casual labor to our youngsters.
Okay.
So what was that? I felt sorry, but I accepted, because any work has its respect.
True.
So our girls, young girls,
Oh.
nicely painted as you are painting, nicely dressed, sweeping the street.
Okay.
And the young boys, well dressed, with jeans and this and that, helping them with your buckets and your wheelbarrows, with the spades. And I felt myself, I would have not liked my niece dressed well, painted nicely, and sweeping the street. That is to say, in God's programming, we have no say. So in God's programming, for these our youngsters, had a day they would sweep the street. And they did it willingly, happily, not ashamed, because every work has its own respect.
True, Father. Okay. So, yeah, that's about it, Father. But thank you so much for making the time for us. When are you heading back to Africa?
To celebrate Christmas and Easter. Last time I did Christmas and Easter when I was schoolboy. So now in these old age, I wanted to experience Lenten season is inspiring here.
Okay.
The other day I was Old Goa, or Vella Goa, for the procession of the saints.
Okay.
We were about 4,000 to 5,000 marching.
Okay.
Very pious.
So,
So I'm going Easter Monday,
okay,
midnight.
Father. Thank you so much for making the time for us here at CCR TV. All we can say is vaya con Dios, muito obrigada. Okay. And that was Father Salvador Ferrao with us here in the CCR TV studios as a part of our series of Senior Shepherds.